Absolutely. So, Yasser, let's start with your introduction to chess. I think this is the most fit place to start. How did you get into chess?
By accident. Seriously, totally by accident. It was so far removed from anything I would have ever expected. So first of all, as a young man, young boy, I was really, really athletic. I mean, I was into all the presidential physical fitness stuff, full contact karate. I love surfing. Like surfing was an absolute passion. And racquetball, I was a lifeguard, all kinds of things.
Where did you live at that point?
All over the United States. My family traveled a lot, but my favorite place by far was Virginia Beach, Virginia, where I lived until June of 1972. And then I had finished the elementary school, W.T. Cook Elementary, and my family moved back to Seattle. And I think it was Mark Twain that said the best winter I ever spent was a summer in Seattle. And I went to Seattle, and I don't know what the records were, but 1972, it rained. And not only did it rain, I mean, I'm talking profusely. You just didn't go anywhere. And because we had moved from Virginia Beach, Virginia to Seattle, so we had all of our stuff trucked across the United States, and it was crazy. It was the Olympics, and a hero of mine, Mark Spitz, was in the Olympics. He was a swimmer. And he had set a goal of winning 7 gold medals. Like nobody in the history had ever done anything even remotely similar to this. And I was thrilled. I was completely caught up, but we didn't have a TV. The TV hadn't arrived. It's like, oh my God. So above us, we lived in a duplex, and above us lived a paraplegic, David Chapman. He had a TV. This was crucial to watching the Olympics. But the crazy part in those days is you didn't know when the Olympics was going to come on. Like, seriously, you just turned on the channel, you kept it on ABC, then came like 30 minutes of Olympics, then they did other regular programming, news doesn't matter, and then another 30 minutes, and then somehow in the evening they would have a show. So it was really hit and miss. So in between those pauses, David had a closet full of games. You know, the Parcheesi's and, you know, the backgammons and all the games that you're familiar. Went through a lot of card games. And it always went. This was our modus. He would tell me and teach me all the rules. We'd play like 2, 3, 4 games. He'd win them all. I'd win one. Next game. The moment I won a game, it was the next game. And we were just going right through his closet while watching the Olympics. He pulls out a chess set. Or maybe he even just flipped.
So Yasser, you were around 12 years old.
I was 12.
And that's a pretty late age to learn chess.
Oh, incredibly late. No question about it.
That's very rare among top chess players or like the best players in the world. But at some point, they always start at 4 years old, 5 years old,
7.
8.
You're right.
8, you know, that's the latest.
That's
right?
even late,
Yeah.
right?
Actually,
so
when
12
did
is
you start?
ridiculous.
I started when I was 5.
Same here, 5.5.
Dang. So for me, I was like way. I think Victor Korchnoi was also a real late starter.
But he had an interesting story too, because his chess development was so stunted because he was living in Leningrad during the siege of Leningrad,
baby.
right?
Yeah. He went to live with his grandmom.
Yeah, and that's like, it's not a guarantee that you survive a situation like that.
Exactly. Deprivation. Unbelievable. Anyway, maybe we flip the checker set over to the chess set.
For a couple of games.
Yeah. He teaches me the rules. And he beats me badly. He keeps beating me badly. No, I'm not talking like 4 games, but I'm talking like 10, 20, 30.
In checkers?
No,
not in
chess.
chess.
In chess, he's destroying me. And what's even worse, I'm not getting even any closer. It was like the games are one-sided, and they kept being one-sided. I was throwing up my hands. I was like disturbed. I said, David, how did you become so good? And he said, well, I'm not so good. I said, you're not? He says, no, at the University of Washington in Seattle, where I learned the game, there's a coffee shop there, the last exit on Brooklyn, and those guys kill me. I go, well, you're killing me. So I went to the coffee shop, and that's where I saw people playing with a chess clock. I was totally mesmerized by this chess clock.
Tell us about your emotions when you saw the chess clock, you saw the action, the speed, everything in between.
Everything.
How did you make yourself, how did you give yourself courage to challenge those guys?
I didn't. I just sat there and watched. Everything was remarkable. I was clueless. I was absolutely clueless that chess was an organized game. I mean, if I took out a Monopoly set, you didn't expect that there would be an organized Monopoly tournament. You'll be shocked to realize there are.
Even these days, when chess is much more well known, there's still people who are like, well, you make a living off of chess?
Yeah,
How is that possible?
Right? Absolutely. So all of those things. And the other thing that was really remarkable for me, because again, this was like first, appearance, was the age. Mm-hmm. I was by far the youngest, by far. You say I was a late bloomer, but all the 16, 18, all the way to 60-year-olds were playing
Well, those like
chess.
coffee shops are usually dominated by like the more experienced the older chess players, right? That was my experience in New York too.
Exactly. And Seattle had a good smattering of masters, but we're talking about Class A and expert players in the coffee shop. Later, I would meet some of the really top dogs.
But also
masters.
in New York and Brooklyn, you get the trash talkers, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How
New York
Portland?
has a great scene.
How about Seattle? Excuse me.
No, that really was a New York thing. Seriously.
New York thing only. Yeah.
And if there was any trash talking, it was on such a soft level that like it was almost like, let me read you some poetry or something like that. So
that's where you got it from.
Right. So it was sort of like these guys would eventually say, would you like to play? And I said, well, like, really? Like, can I? And then they clobber me badly, like really worse. And this happened. Like,
did they want to play for money?
No.
Just for fun.
Just for fun.
Okay.
And more or less, July kind of went, and I was just like, I was vexed. I was really like, what's wrong with me, right? So I remember this very vividly. I went back, and I decided that I was lousy. I was just totally lousy, and I would play David one last game. And I was black, and I had a queen on c7, and I had a bishop on d6. And I consciously captured his pawn on g3 with my bishop, and he took it. And I recaptured the pawn on g3 with my queen, which was with a check. He had to move into the corner, and I took on h3, and he had to move back to g1. And I checked him again on g3. We went back and forth about 20 times. And
did you guys know about the rule of perpetual?
No. And I said, well what's that?
What do we do now?
He says, I think it's a tie. A tie. I'll take that. It wasn't a victory, but it was a tie. Yeah. And then I rushed back.
So just speaking of this, there's a very similar game to chess, Chinese chess.
Right.
Where you can't do this.
Right. You have to
You're
break
not allowed
the perpetual.
Someone has to break the perpetual.
Right.
There's no way to tie a game in this manner.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
So what do you do at that point?
Someone has to continue in another way.
And another way.
Even if it's bad for their position, they just have to. If you keep repeating, the person who initiated is forfeited.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that's the rule, yeah.
I do too, even though I don't play the...
I've only
you
played
have to take that into consideration when you're going in those type of events.
Yeah.
Like keep that in mind, yeah.
I initiate, but
And
how
then
do you determine that? How do you determine
whoever
who
makes
initiated?
that first...
Well, let's say in this case it would be Yasser, because
Right.
he's the one
Bishop
playing
takes
queen
Queen
g3,
takes
queen
g3.
h3.
So I was thrilled that I got a tie. And then I started playing, and then somebody showed me the smothered mate, where you give up your queen. Now you have to understand, I was terrible at chess, and I worshiped my queen. Like, if I lost my queen, I just didn't even know how to play with the other pieces. And people, us, grandmasters, we really forget how difficult it was to learn and absorb all the rules. Like, I was forever making illegal moves.
I mean, Yasser, did you watch the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz?
Yeah, I did. There
I'm
was
not
three
sure.
illegal moves.
3 in one game.
Or 2 in one game and 1 in the other. I mean, it was hilarious. And I said to Shakhriyar that the commentators had decided to award him the Kampamanis Prize. The Kampamanis Prize is for the best cheater in the competition. And unfortunately, he had no competition. He had it all to himself. He said, I'm very deserving of the Kampamanis.
I think he was cracking himself up at,
Yeah,
at some point.
exactly.
That is like, I've never seen that before.
No, it's pretty rare, to be blunt.